bids are in, the gavel is dropped. Ladies and gentlemen, here in WineBid, we are finally hammered. That's right. This is WineBid's podcast dedicated to all things wine value, wine auction, wine retail, and of course, just wine. My name is Jeff McGurn. I'm here on the WineBid marketing team. And with me, as always, is Paul Walker, our wine expert. Yes, that's right. Paul
You're
Walker.
speaking especially slowly today. Is there something going on? Also, I can hear your Slack beeping in the
I was going to say the guru of the grape, Paul Walker, the wine expert. And today we're going to be doing a recap of everything that happened this last week at auction. Let's jump right in, Paul. Let's take a look at the stuff that had lots of bids. So we saw some action on stuff. And the reason why we like to look at this is because when there are a bunch of bids, usually it means there's something that hasn't come along in a while, or it's something where there's a price adjustment, right? And we're seeing maybe a market correction in some direction, right? So, well, a lot of bids usually means up. Start off with this 2016.
That's good. That's good. First of all, I didn't know that. I didn't know that multiple bids mean the price.
That's what that means, Paul. That's why you're the wine expert and I am the business expert here.
You're the wine investment guru.
That's right. Buy low, sell high. That's my advice. Right. And speaking of low and high, let's take a look at this 2016 Chateau Grand Puy Lacoste. Which
65 is just straight up cheap for that. I mean, that's a steal.
Well,
so, people are catching on to these lower, I think 16, 18, 19 Bordeaux prices because they're lower at auction right now than anywhere else. And,
could they stop, please? Could they stop catching on for just a minute?
You've had months to, collect as much as possible. We've been doing this for over a year. So,
but I was trying to throttle myself. I would have bought more like a year ago.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda, man. You've been saying the same thing. Like you said, oh, you could have bought this 10 years ago. And so your chance was happening when we were literally talking about it when it was happening. And you decided not to buy all these wines. Because I think 16 GPL hammered at 65. That's the crazy thing, is it actually hammered at 65.
Yeah, hammered at 65 in February. But then you look at like last March and it was going for like 85. It's hammering for 85.
That's what I mean.
So this was happening.
This was happening recently, and you had your chance and you didn't buy them. So whose fault is that?
You should have told me. You should have been like, we've got some Grand Prix cost and it's an auction.
I bet in February.
You're the wine expert.
I bet in February I was like, look at that. 60 GPL is only 65 and it's sold at hammered.
All right, well, let's talk about another one that you should have told me to buy when it was $150 a bottle. The 19.
I did tell you that. It was $150.
Less Saint what?
No, that one was way, way low. That 150 is way low for anyone from the one.
If you had done your job, and when it was 150 bottle, you'd been like, McGurn, go get 150 cases of that. Then we wouldn't have this conversation because
I didn't know you back when this wine was for sale at retail years and years ago.
In 2009, if you had just if you just sent me a note, right, shot me an email, right, to just pick up, a few thousand cases of this, then I would be retired because it shot up after 9 bids from $150 to $650.
Yeah, that's not a great vintage either. 84 is very challenging. So I'm curious as how that wine's holding up. But it's almost more collectible than, say, a superior vintage, just that probably very few of these actually exist anymore, because I'm sure most of them were drunk, on release, or even who knows what happened to most of them. But not a great vintage. But yeah, that's a rare one for sure. And I'm $650 even for a Maison Leroy wine is not kind of a crazy price, but 84 is that's a challenging one. So
let's take a look at this. So we got that. We have the 1998 Mongeur Murray Echezot. 9 bids from 125 to 235. I mean, this again.
Nice pronunciation, by the way. You didn't mangle that one. So.
Of course not. I basically speak French fluently, more or less. maybe more or less than more. But yeah, I mean, I think this is another one in 2016. If you had just let me know that I needed to buy 10,000 cases of this, right, then I could have doubled my money in
Yes.
7 short years.
As could have anyone, but they wouldn't have had access to even probably more than a 6-pack or two
Well,
in any market.
agree to disagree. I mean, I feel like I'm scrappy and I could have figured it out. Let's take a look at this 2014 Marjane Special Club Blanc de Blanc Brut. This one started at 65, hammered at 85. So a little bit of northern movement on this 2014 shank.
That's kind of a rare one, Special Club from Margan. I don't think we've ever seen that before. So yeah, it's not too surprising. Those are great wines. And, you know, even 85 plus commission's not a terrible price for that. I'll bet at retail it's probably closer to 100 anyway. So
yeah,
that's not terrible. I was curious about this 07 Louis Latour Merceau Charme. That was kind of crazy because it started at 50 and hammered at 130. That's a pretty wild increase. Because again, this wine, well, I guess it's been a while since it's been an auction, but yeah, it's in 2020, it sold for $42. So that's quite an increase in 3 years.
That one is moving. I mean, some of these are moving quite fast.
Yeah, I mean, and Bartolo Mascarello, that's no surprise. You know, they started at 170. Looks like most of them got bid up to 180. There were 6 bottles. That's not surprising. Next time they'll probably be at 200 or more.
Did it surprise you that we had quite a bit of action on the 2021 Camus Cabernet Sauvignon, where
that is a little strange? Yeah.
Well, it is and it isn't, because Camus, I feel like now is retailing for like $80-$90.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So like, and you know, I mean, the 2021, I mean, Camus comes out with their wine so fast, right?
Yeah.
Like it just gets released, you know, like, I mean,
I feel like the 20 was 6 months ago or something, but probably a year ago, but it doesn't seem like it was that long ago.
I mean, I feel like they just have like a van that has like all the stuff to make wine in it, and then they just take the grapes as soon as they're picked and they throw them in the van. The van starts driving to the Costco, and then they just make the wine and bottle it in the van and then deliver it or something like. To me, that's the only, like, it just seems like it's like wow, it's like cars. I feel like their vintage comes out before the year even happens, and you're like, how is it they have these out so fast when everybody else takes like 2 years, right?
It is a little strange. I don't think
it
used to be, but yeah,
they're very efficient. I think everybody else could learn some lessons from them on efficiency, right? Because they get it out quick. You know, if that's something you're looking for in a wine producer, is speed to market, right?
That Dujac doubled in price. The 03 Maurice Denis.
Yeah, it's on 95.
I mean, 95 does seem quite low, even for an 03, you know, controversial hot vintage. The 95 still seems pretty inexpensive. But again, I don't know. I didn't look at the history on that wine, but
the
probably, yeah. It's like we hadn't sold it prior, so not too surprising. What, 210? It looks like it was the hammer on all 4 bottles or something.
210 was a hammer on all 4 bottles. Yeah. What do you make of the Hubert Lamy Saint Aubin?
Those are collectible. Not surprising. I think, you know, they're very collectible, and they've been pushed up significantly over the last couple of years, last probably 3 or 4 years. So starting at 60, hammering 85, around there. That seems normal. They're just going to go up from there. They're great wines. Probably be 3 figures before you know it.
I mean, 18 Joseph Drouin Merceau. I mean, you see that going from 50 to 62, right?
That's not too surprising. I think that probably retails for probably, you know, more than $60. So that seems in line.
So I guess, you know, and I think with a lot of these are ones that you know, we haven't really seen much of them at auction before because they've only started retailing recently. So you don't really see them in the aftermarket right away, right? With a lot of stuff. And consequently, we get them and the market has to find its price. So, we put them out with what we think, based on research, what the best guess is, or estimate rather, not really guess. And then they go to where they're going to go. So we sold this 2012 Cedric Bouchard Rosé de Jean Blanc de Noir Les Ursulas. This one, 5 bids, so from 200 to 250. So we've seen a nice 25% increase in value there. Again, another one that disgorged in 16.
Yeah, so that's been out for a bit, and those wines are super hot. They've just blown up in the last couple of years as well, like so many other, small production champagnes. I think there was actually a more recent vintage in a week or two ago that was way up there. It was like 750 or something. So that's not too surprising. They'll probably continue to increase because it's really hard to find, something that was, I want to say released in maybe 17 or 18. Good luck trying to find that one again. That's not going to be easy. So yeah, Cedric Bouchard, those wines are great. I'm not surprised they're getting bid up.
Let's take a look at some of the heavy hitters, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Right off the bat, I'm just going to list some of the sort of bigger hammers that we had this last week, and then we can talk about just some interesting stuff. I mean, probably, not surprisingly, out of the top 5, 4 were cases of Screaming Eagle, right? A 3-bottle lot OWC of 08 that went for $7,200. A mag OWC that went for $6,900.
Yeah, I think they only bottled the 17 in magnums because of the vintage. It was a tricky one.
It was a
tricky. I think they had limited, it was like a more limited list, of people who got allocations of it. So that's the only format I believe from 17.
Super
so there's not
collectible.
a ton of them. So yeah, that's a valuable bottle for sure. I mean, it didn't get bid up from 69, but that's probably, that's the going rate these days.
A bottle of the 2010 Sauvignon Blanc for
again,
our bid, $4,400.
Eternal inaugural vintage bottle keeps getting traded around.
Yeah, well, I know. just like a ping pong ball.
Exactly, it keeps going back into auction. No one's willing to open it. They're like, it's probably over the hill anyway.
Everyone just gets it and then sees it's gone up a little bit and then just sells it right away, right? To some.
I mean, it's kind of funny though. It's like there are these, few examples where the wine is probably not, at its peak where it was a few years ago, but the collectible value is just so high that there's always going to be interest in it. Even probably 10, 20 years from now, that wine will command a serious price.
We've got the 2011 Screaming Eagle Second Flight 6-ball lot OWC that sold for $3,510. Not cheap for a second label, right?
No, that's also a tougher vintage. It's the same thing. Like Harlan 6-bottle 6-pack from 11 was $4,470, which that's not cheap, but that's what it's going for.
One that I thought was interesting was this 2019 Mouton Rose Shield 6-bottle lot OWC that sold for $3,410, right? So you're talking $3,410. You're looking at $568.33, right? And per 750.
Yeah, that's not a high number for Mouton.
It's not. What's interesting is that, I mean, so these on release in 2020 were $395.
Yeah, you got to hold on to it for another 10 years. It's just like
before it really hits.
Like the 05. It's like the 05s. The futures were through the roof. They're incredibly expensive, and it took multiple years for that for it to double in price. And I think same thing here. In like 2, 3, 4 years from now, that will almost certainly go for more.
Well, and I think it's important to note, into 2022, the first tranche price was $689. And that was OWC for 6, right? So even $568 is, I think, still a steal when you look at the strength of the 2019 vintage.
Right. Yeah, no, there's like the 16 GPL. There's going to be multiple wines, and probably too in some of our recommendations that will almost certainly increase. And I'm not ever one to give wine investment advice because that's not my area of expertise by any means. But there are a lot of examples out there now that are going to go up. Again, it might take that 19 Mouton 6-pack 3 or 4 years from now to go up to 4, 5, 6, 7,000, but it'll get there. It'll just take a while.
We'll just take a little, people are going to have to drink some of theirs and realize how good of a value that is.
Drinking some of these other things that we mentioned, the other deals in Bordeaux, from like the softer vintages, like the 14s or something, drink some of those that are cheap and excellent in the meantime.
Absolutely.
74 Ridge Montebello, 1915. Do you see that? That's getting into Heights Martha's territory.
The 74 Heights Martha's was 2350, and
this thing's skating right behind it. 1915. It's only got a few $100 to go to get to that price.
There's only a few $100 to go, and we got another one of these 74 Heights Martha vineyards, I believe, this week. I want to say.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there's a new bottle of it. A new lot in this week.
So it'll be interesting to see if that one holds at the 2350, right? Let's take a look at some of the interesting call outs, right? We've got this 96 Bruno Giacosa Barolo Filetto Reserva 705. We have 5 hammered at this price. That's a high for 12 months. The most recent hammer was 466 in July, right? So at another auction house. So 705 is pretty strong for a hammer for this bottle. We've got this, we had a lot of Barolo. So 2012, Capilano Barolo, Otin, Fiorin, Pie Franco, 410, high since 2021. We've got, we talked about the Cedric Bouchard. We had 2 of those, one at 400, one at 605. Both of those are mini records for us, at least in the past 12 months. 26.
Yeah, that's a lot, right? That 2010, that Rosé Sagné Cru d'Enfer. So the Rosé Sagné is already rarer than some of the other wines, but I don't know what the disgorgement on that bottle was, but still that's no joke. 605 for
605. Yeah, that's strong performance. Then you have like this 2016 Lafleur for $1,200, right? It hasn't hammered that since 2021. And even recently at another auction house in July, at the end of July, it only hammered at 916. And then
that's high, 1,200.
Yeah. 2021 Charles Lachaux, Bourgogne, Aligoté.
Aligoté for an easy 700 and whatever it is.
That's all. That's it. Just $735.
$735 for Aligoté. That better be really, really good Aligoté. That is crazy.
Aligoté,
you say that Cedric Bouchard Rosé was disgorged on 14, so it's probably released, close to 7 or 8 years ago. So
here's the thing. I would have bought that Aligoté, but it's just Aligoté is getting too commercial of a grape for me. It's too mainstream. I prefer stuff that's a little bit more off the beaten path, like my Cabernet Sauvignon. And
that is just, I'd love to see a blind tasting of that versus like the what's his name from Domaine Romanée-Conti. Oh, what's his label? I'm forgetting it right now. Aubert de Villaine, the de Villaine wines. I'd like to see the difference in that. And then there's also some pretty good, a couple of good Meursault producers who make Aligoté, like Rouleau and some others that they're not cheap, but gosh, they're not going for $730. That's amazing. Those Charles Lachaux label particularly is just really, really wild.
We had these 2020 Georges Muneret, Gibourg, Chambois Moussigny, des Fuchelottes.
That's a lot, yeah.
550. We didn't have any other hammers we saw on record for that one. And then we had a couple bottles of Dominio.
You could just say Pingas.
Dominio de Pingas.
You just say Pingas. People will know what you're talking about if you say Pingas. 03
yeah, the 03 for 640 and the 2020 for 710. Those were, some pretty high hammers from our research. And the Igugal Côte Rôtie La Landone for $435. And then, that was a high for us. And actually, even from other auction houses, we saw it recently sell at another auction house for 320. So,
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Another four-figured mid-70s Cabernet too is Phelps Isley 1200. That's a pretty serious price.
Strong, yeah, very strong for a Phelps Isley Cabernet Sauvignon. I'd be curious to see what the 74 is going for if the 75 is going for $1,200.
I don't know if there
even is a 74.
There is?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it was made in 74. I think 75 was the first vintage.
No, it wasn't made in 74.
It was?
Oh, wait. Sorry.
I don't think
That's
so.
75. No, it was not made in 74. So that is the inaugural vintage.
Yeah.
There you go. No wonder it's going for so much money.
Yeah, that's a rare one.
That's a very rare one. 2014 Promontory Red, high on record for 780. Previous high was 771 in 2021. And then most recently, it hammered another auction house for 550. So Promontory Red either coming up or just, getting a lot of action recently. And I mean, those are the only ones I wanted to really. Was there anything else you wanted to highlight before we wrap up?
No, I think that was pretty much it. Yeah, there was some 89 Vega Sicilia 620 and some Bezo moving. I know there's been some Bezo on the site for a while, but it's like we're going Chapitre sold at 1395, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, no, that's pretty much about it. Some great wines, sure.
That wraps it up for our auction recap with WineBid's Finally Hammered. It's been Jeff McGurn and Paul Walker wishing you happy bidding and cheers.
Cheers.